So my name is Joey. I'm going to talk about the GNU pre-built binary toolchain from ARM. So I'm leading the open source toolchain team within ARM. Today is going to talk about the binary releases. So my team is responsible for releasing the GNU toolchain, binary toolchain, and make them available free of charge in the ecosystem. So since last year, we've been handing over all the GCC GNU toolchain release from Linaro, and then now we have been releasing two binary toolchains. One is for the embedded toolchain, embedded market targeting the ARM Cortex-R and the Cortex-M. Another is for the A profile, including Cortex-A and the new verse family of processors. So I'm going to talk about the release plans and highlight the change to the previous release plans and follow up with any questions and the feedback regarding to our release plans. So first, the embedded toolchain. The GNU Arm Embedded Toolchain has been there for approximately 8 years since being releasing it. It is a free of charge cross-platform toolchain for binary, for bare metal software development. So it has C and C++ and assembly support and the targeting on Cortex-M, mainly targeting Cortex-M and the Cortex-R platform. So far we will have 2 releases each year. We'll talk about the major release will happen in Q4, and another update release going to happen in Q1. The major release will include the new features in the latest GCC release branch, and the update release is going to include major bug fixes and any update in the relevant GCC branch. The hosted platforms will include Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. So far, Windows is the most popular platform, development platform for the hosted development. The target, of course, is the ARM bare metal. So the toolchain is available in the ARM website called developer.arm.com. We moved the release website from, historically we have the release in Launchpad, and we moved to developer.arm.com. And some of our toolchains is also available in a GUI solution of our partners. Say partners take our binary releases and integrate it in their GUI and redistribute it as part of their products. So they are available in that channel as well. Supports, or not called the support, is question answers and the bug reports can go through a forum in ARM. The forum is called the community.arm.com. And also we keep the historic forum in Launchpad because a lot of people are still active there. So basically there are 2 support forums from one of the website, ARM website, and in Launchpad website. So what changed in this release plan? Basically, we changed the release cadence. So originally, we kind of released at the end of Q3, and we moved that release to early Q4. We aim to have the release at the, so although our commitment is to make the release in Q4, but we do plan to make the release happen early in Q4, which means that next month, in October, we're going to have a release for embedded GCC. And there are some major changes in the Windows host. We're not going to release unassigned binary because unsigned binary, because there are some complaints with the binary that is not signed, and there will be some problem if you use those binary in Windows 10 or whatever. And we're not going to continue support Windows 7, Windows XP, wherever. We're going to build the binary targeting Windows 10 and test them on Windows 10 only. Chances are they might continue work on Windows 7, but yeah, we are not going to test them. We're not going to test them, and there might be some problems if you run them in Windows 7. We think that should not be a big problem as most people switch to Windows 10, and we will only release the 32-bit installer. We'll keep the binary as 32-bit only. We are on the way of adding ARC64 host machine. So basically, you have an ARC64 development machine. You can build the ARM bare metal targets from that platform. So this is the first time, the first native, or not say native, it's a cross target, but it was from 64-bit to 32-bit cross target toolchain. So we're going to do release. Any question?
Regarding the Linux host machines, what distribution are you going to support?
We're going to support up to Ubuntu 14.04 and Red Hat 7. I think that's the baseline. Okay, coming to the A profile release. Again, very similarly, it's a cross tools for bare metal and Linux software development. So the embedded toolchain is only for bare metal, but for A profile, we do have Linux target toolchain. And they have C and C++ assembler, and it's mainly targeting the A profile and the new processor family. It is the similar, or I can say the SAN toolchain as what the Linaro has been released in before the last year. Yeah, we basically took it over from Linaro last year. Similarly, we'll have 2 releases each year. We're going to have the Windows and Linux operation support. We're not going to have a Mac OS support because we don't think it's necessary. Similarly, it's available in developer.arm.com, and the support channel is community.arm.com and Linaro Bugzilla. There's also some legacy reason to keep some support. Keep some bug report from the Linaro Bugzilla. What's changed? So, comparing to the original release plan, we moved the release from early Q3 to later Q4, with the belief that the GCC will be more stable by then. So that of course will make our development work easier by moving the release timeline closer, by moving the 2 release timelines closer, so that we can have a single source space to build the 2 releases on. As a result of this move, we're going to ship the GCC X.2. Is originally, if we release in Q3, will be most likely based on GCC X.1. We're going to build from X.2, and the follow-up release will be based on X.3, saying the coming Q4 release will be based on GCC 9.2, and in Q2 next year, it will be based on GCC 9.3. There's no plan to update the old version once the new version is being available. So we're not going to update the GCC 8 after the GCC 9 is available. Furthermore, we adjusted some packages, release packages. We reduced some combination, some host target combination, and added some new host target combination. Mainly what we dropped is the combinations that is not popular according to our download number. For example, the AX32 soft float. Nowadays, seldom people use soft float. If you do have to use soft float for some very old boards, then you can always fall back to the old versions. We also dropped the bare metal big endian because there are literally no usage of bare metal big endian. What we going to add is the AX64 host machines. We're going to add the basically most of the toolchain will have the AX64 host, Linux host binary, except for the AX64 to AX64 Linux, because that's literally the native toolchain. We're going to rely on the Linux distro to deliver the native toolchain. We're not going to do their work for them. And there's some combination like a Windows big endian Linux. We also dropped that package. Any questions about the April file release? Okay. Right, a quick summary. ARM is going to continue release the free toolchain based on the GNU, and that will be focused on the cross toolchain. Whether we're going to release the real native toolchain, probably not. We're going to leave that to the Linux distro. And we're going to have some change in the release cadence, frequency, and the timeline. And I got also going to support the native ARM on ARM. We'll call it ARM on ARM, say built from AX64 platform for the ARM AX32 target. That's also ARM on ARM. If you have any questions, you just ask or keep contact. I can send the email to me or through Maxim, or asking questions in supporting forums so that we can answer those questions. Any questions so far?
Do you have any roadmap for sanitizer support inside the toolchain releases?
So sanitizer is part of a GCC toolchain, but are you asking for like a bare metal or Linux target? Linux target. Yeah, it is not in the current plan. So that's something, yeah, we'd like to consider. GCC does have a sanitizer.
I have a recollection that those are supported. There was a bug in the very first release of ARM GC.8 toolchain, which came without sanitizers enabled, but then it was fixed in the later release. So make sure to try the latest ARM release. I believe it was included there.
I just know that some, like not all of the sanitizers have been supported on ARM. For instance, like the memory sanitizer, I think only works on x86. So I'm looking at, are these features being brought to the ARM version of the compiler?
They are, yes. Yeah, I mean in the GCC toolchain, they are. In the release, yeah, Maxim said that there was some problem got resolved. I need to double check whether that's part of our next release. I think it should be. I probably got it wrong in my first answer. Yeah. Okay. So basically, you're asking for AX64 sanitizer. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
The decision to essentially provide to support the release for a single year. Do you expect complaints from Linaro members and from ARM's customers about that? Because we are still getting bug reports for GC6.
So yeah, we deal with this complaints or bug report when it comes. So we do this to focus on our very limited resource on the latest toolchain. If people can upgrade to the latest toolchain to resolve those problems, that will be the best recommended approach. But if there are reasons that the bugs has to be fixed in the early version, then we will see what we can do, case by case based. Okay, I'm surprised that nobody asked LVM related question. Okay, I'll just leave it here.
So I was going to follow up with you afterwards because I don't know how much it interests the whole community. But there are a lot of ARM compilers out there. You're presenting cross compilers, and I noticed that the ARM on ARM compiler, you recommend use the local toolchain. I was wondering how much synchronization there is between your group, the group that does the GNU compiler that does bundle with the LLVM compiler for server, the LLVM compiler for embedded, the other LLVM compilers, the other GNU compilers within ARM. I can think of 4 different ARM compiler groups in ARM. I'm just wondering, are you all tied together and working together, or are you aware of each other?
I cannot count up to 4 groups, but between the GNU tools and the LVM tools, we are in a big compiler organization within ARM. So we do talk to each other, make sure that our solution is compatible to each other. Let's say when you introduce a new option or implement a new ABI, those compilers are going to enable them the same way as expected. But in terms of a product release, yes, there are ARM commercial compiler for embedded, for bare metal, and there's some Linux compiler focus on Linux host and traditionally HPC, and we got this GNU release focus on bare metal and A profile early enablement. So different toolchain have different customer and users. Even for the A profile toolchain and the embedded toolchain, the reason to split them is because the users of them are largely different. One is based on latest A profile CPU enablement and the performance. Another is MCU developers or the makers. So yeah, in the summary, there are reasons to have different compiler releases and then have some different compiler teams focus on different products. And we do talk to each other and make sure that the fundamental technologies are compatible, although we have to be in different products.
So specifically, right, you say ARM on ARM support is a highlight. I know of a group that's working on GCC optimizations for the Thunder X2 and Ampere chips within ARM. It'd be nice if you could get those optimizations and bring them to your group, so when you cross-compile, you're not only targeting Neoverse chips, you're also targeting ARM partner chips. That would be a useful collaboration among the different compiler groups.
Yeah, that compiler has its own production strategy. It has some libraries that are not necessarily fully open sourced. So this project is purely focused on open source solution.
You're talking about the ARM performance libraries.
Yeah, ARM performance libraries.
That's additional to the group I'm referring to. So we should synchronize offline. It sounds like there's opportunity here.
Yeah. Let's talk offline on this topic. Thanks. Cool. If no other questions, thank you very much for coming to this session. Thanks.